Thank you for joining us for season 20, episode 13 of Happy Jacks RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I'm Jim.
Yes.
I'm Stork.
And it's the unluckiest episode of season 20.
Why is that? Why do you say that?
Because it is. Because it's 13.
It's Friday. It's 13.
Oh, it is Friday.
I'm Jason. I should have worn my goalie mask.
You have one?
Yes.
I guess,
Yes,
yeah.
actually I did.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
This episode of Happy Jacks RPG Podcast is sponsored by Palladium Books. You can find them at palladiumbooks.com.
They're awesome sauce.
They do stuff.
In this episode, Steve from SoCal writes in about red herrings. Axel writes in with his take on flashbacks. And Luis suggests a quick time travel solution. That was for an email from a few episodes ago. But first, if you would like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Turn my mic up a little bit.
Yeah, you're important. It should be loud.
I should be at 11. And we need emails, so it's a good time to write emails.
Write emails.
Holidays are coming up because you got nothing better to do.
That's right. We're on the tweeters, happyjacksrpg, all one word, and also on Instagram. And you can also search for us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, and we also have a Facebook page. Like it.
Yes.
Like it.
That Facebook page is just really overworked serving beers and drinks to the rest of the party. That never mind.
What?
Facebook page. It's a page.
Page.
It's
Oh.
Got it. Thank you, Stork. That was good. Thanks for being here.
If you'd like to watch the show
Oh,
live, God knows why, you can go to happyjacks.org/live. We stream on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Like clockwork. Sometimes.
Perfect.
Even a broken clock is right.
We are professional grade. Not really.
Yes. F. That is our professional grade.
No. We are at
A
least
D.
a C minus.
C minus.
C minus.
But an earned C minus. Like when I
Right.
took Roman history in college. I got a C, but I earned that.
You
I
worked
worked
it.
for that
Yes.
C. As I said before, this episode of Happy Jacks RPG Podcast is sponsored by Palladium Books at palladiumbooks.com. Palladium is the publisher of the Palladium Fantasy RPG Heroes Unlimited, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Robotech Riffs, Dead Rain, Splicers, and much more. And the best part is they all use the same game system.
Yeah.
So if you decide you want zombies in your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game, you got them.
Yeah.
You want a zombie apocalypse in your superhero game, you got it. Whatever you want, you can do it.
Yeah.
It all intermixes and fits together.
Yeah.
I want Teenage Mutant Ninja Zombie Turtles.
I was just thinking.
I think you can do that too.
Like Leonardo shows up in our Dead Rain game. That would be fabulous.
That would be fantastic.
Although I think my character would be confused and probably kill him or try.
Yes. Well, if he was a zombie, you would all try to.
I think a giant turtle walking, it would still be.
It's a Ninja Turtle,
Even
too.
if it-
A
Ninja.
6 foot tall turtle armed with,
Yeah, I'd probably just
Yeah,
assume
which
it
one was
some kind of
Leonardo?
new
Now you're going to know. Now you're going to ask.
walking
You know.
zombie.
I know you
thing.
know.
I don't know.
I do.
He
It's
was the most
taking-
dangerous of them. Because he had the two of them.
Yeah, he had 2 katanas, didn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I don't know enough
He was
about
like the nerdy
Teenage
one,
Mutant
though.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
I
He
said
was the
Teenage
leader.
Mutant
Tater. That's how much you know.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Taters?
But I went on DriveThru RPG
Spoiled
and I
master.
counted more than 400 titles,
Yeah.
including Rifters Magazine, which is their magazine that supports the Rifts RPG, which is nice because it's nice when games support
Yeah.
their stuff with periodicals. I love periodicals.
Do a zine!
A zine! And I'm on steroids tonight! Woohoo! So check them out at
All the
Palladium
new
Books.
people are like, what?
Yes, I'm on steroids again.
Do the thing.
We're in a zine. So you can check them out at palladiumbooks.com. Palladium books.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. And we thank them for their support. And if you want to support the show, support the sponsors. Thank you very much. And thank you to Palladium Books.
I like that they're a sponsor. I remember, I think, and maybe you do too, Stu, when you were in your, back in the 80s and stuff, they were one of the first games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're still around, which is amazing to me. Because
Yeah.
a lot of games have just fallen by the wayside. A lot of companies have fallen by the
Yeah.
wayside, and Palladium is still around.
I-
That speaks to the quality of their
I
games.
I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles way back in the day. We were...
I played Dead Rain last week.
That's right. I think I mentioned this before. When I went to Gen Con, they had their booth there. They have rows and rows of bookshelves. I don't even know if they have all their titles. I don't even know if all their titles are in print.
It's amazing, yeah.
But I'm like, oh my god, they've published so much
When
stuff.
you say Palladium, you're like, oh yeah, it was like, yeah, I know Palladium. They've been around forever.
Yep.
Yep.
So thank you for sponsoring this show.
And if nothing else, you can power a suit of armor with them. You know, you can,
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you
That's
for
right,
making
right.
so
Thing.
much
That's
stuff to go with your games. So cool.
We got a game convention coming up in February.
Yep.
February.
That's the Valentine's Con, right?
Yeah.
That's the one where we.
Valicon.
Yeah.
It's
It's
OrcCon.
It's after Valentine's Day, right?
It's after Valentine's Day. It's President's Day weekend.
16th, 17th, 18th, 19th?
Sounds right.
It's been before.
Around the 17th.
I bought gifts there for the wife for Valentine's Day.
It has
so-
occasionally fallen on Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
not this year.
It's
Yes.
usually right after Valentine's Day. It's usually in the 15th to the 18th range.
Yeah.
And I don't have a calendar. We should get a calendar for the show. Wouldn't that be nice? Like a calendar that we
Oh
can
my
look at the
God.
show and say, hey, look,
There's stuff.
do they sell those calendars?
I don't know, it's in PDF form.
We have like 4 Google calendars. Like we can make.
No, but there's something I can look at and say, oh, it's these dates.
Like we could just put it on like
Like a piece.
Happy
your
Jack's
phone?
Hour
Oh, for crying out
schedule.
loud.
We could just.
I'm just curious what the dates are.
We'll add it to the Happy Jack's calendar, and then that way it'll be showing up on
Jib,
everything.
Jib's got a $1,000 microcomputer. He's
Yeah.
going to look up the calendar
It's
right
15,
now.
16, 17, 18.
So I was close.
In March.
I was close. That was March.
Yeah,
I was looking at but the days are the same.
February.
February 15, 16, 17, 18.
15, 16, 17, 18th at the Anaheim.
Or actually 16,
Hilton.
17, 18,
No,
19.
Anaheim. Wow, that's a
That's
long
so
time ago
wrong.
for Strategicon conventions.
Wow.
They were.
You were on
That was
steroids.
wishful
Frenazine!
thinking.
They
That
used
was
to-
wishful
They
thinking
used to
on
be.
your part.
They used to be at the Anaheim Sheraton.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
When I was a kid, we used to get my parents dropped me off, and I spent 2 days at the game convention.
Right.
2 days, and I didn't get a hotel room because I was cheap.
Well,
and I
you were
couldn't
a
afford.
kid.
I couldn't
First-
afford the $12 that everyone pitched in because
Yeah.
there were like 9 people in the room.
Yeah. First con that I went to, I didn't get a hotel room. It was just crash space wherever I could find.
I went to that same convention later on. I won't say how old I was, and that was the first time I got blacked out drunk because someone was pouring me tequila sunrises.
Bill?
No, it was long before I met Bill, and I did not realize this, but the glass is like vodka or tequila, orange juice,
No, that's vodka.
and grenadine.
Those are screwdrivers.
Yep.
No, it was
Oh,
it was
was it? Oh,
tequila.
okay.
It was
Oh, okay.
tequila.
Yeah.
And I got hammered.
It's that
So
So
grenadine.
I know that you have games in.
And you know who
'cause
poured those drinks?
there's-
What's
Eric
her name?
Aldrich?
No, it wasn't Eric. Eric was in the room. What's her name? She works at the counter. Tracy
I don't know.
at Strategicon.
What are you asking me about
She
your...
was the one. She's like, "Oh, you want one? Sure." Orange juice. There you go. And I wasn't watching. And
It's funny because you only drop these little nuggets now and again. I had no idea you knew all those people. I know
Oh,
you knew
yeah.
Eric, but I knew it's like
Yeah, we all went
so
to
when
high
you
school
show up at
together.
con, you're like, oh yeah, these are my people. I know all these people.
we all went to high school together.
So weird.
Yeah.
Is there
I think
anybody-
Tracy was a year behind us. She's like a year younger
But
than me.
I know that you have games in.
Yeah, I have 2 games. I forgot what I put in though.
They'll tell you.
I have
before.
games in.
Right.
Kurt has games in. What are you
Right.
running?
I actually got my idea today. So
Did you?
I was super excited because I went to the movies today. I'm not going to tell you what I saw because then I'll tell you what the idea is. So I think so probably Wild Talents, but I might do another system. But I might do like a Powered by the Apocalypse thing. I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know. I literally just got the idea today. So
I'm going to run Masks on Friday.
oh, nice.
And on Saturday, I am running the Sprawl Touched. Because that is the Shadowrun setting for the Sprawl.
Nice.
So,
Cool.
PBTA Shadowrun.
I'm Adventures in Arkandale. It's at 9 a.m. on Saturday, and that's in Moment of Truth for Kids, which I've almost finished writing.
You
And-
still have a couple of months.
Yeah,
It's okay.
a couple.
And you can fake it. They're not going to know. They're kids.
Well, it's a scaled down version of Moment of Truth, and that's a fantasy game. And then, what was the other one? Oh, I'm running Mongoose Traveler, 2nd edition, Ashes of Exodus.
That's great.
You sound so surprised.
So there you go. I've got,
I would love to play that, but we're opposite each other.
Oh.
Again, as always.
yeah, we are. You're doing the Sprawl.
Yeah.
Tetched.
Yep. Shadowrun. And I have it on good authority that Gina is running games at OrcCon.
That
good.
is awesome.
Excellent.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Are you going to do character gen for Mongoose?
Probably not.
We actually did a character gen Mongoose thing and Random Short Adventure, and people loved it.
Really?
I know. I was shocked too. But people, you love that journey of creating a character in Travelers.
Maybe I'll start.
No, we
The
should
character gen?
stream it. You should get a couple of us. We'll stream the character gen.
Oh, yeah, I
and
could do that.
then
Yeah.
they come and sign up and play
I'd be
the
there.
game later.
I'd be there for that.
Or just limit them to one term.
We tried that, and we thought it would be a good idea. Dave and I did, and we thought it would be a good idea, and it really wasn't. It wasn't.
really?
It's kind of distracting because they don't have full ownership. I mean, when they start from beginning to end, you get to see.
No,
that
I'm
journey.
thinking have them roll up their
Right,
characters and just limit them to like one or two
Yeah,
terms
that
and
makes
say,
sense.
okay,
Yeah,
you can't. You can't
yeah,
roll
that's
up
what we
5
did.
terms.
Okay. That's what we did. We did.
How
like
long
3
did that
terms.
take?
I think we did 3 terms. It took like an hour.
Oh, that's not bad.
It
Okay,
really wasn't
maybe
bad.
I will do that.
Maybe an hour and a half, and then we had like an hour and a half adventure, and it was just a quick thing. And,
Okay.
and it was enough, and people loved it.
Okay, maybe
Cool.
maybe I will do that. So yeah, so see you there if you're going to go to that.
Be there.
Red herrings from Steve and SoCal.
They make the best sushi.
I love mackerel is my favorite sushi. It is the fishiest of fish.
I was listening to something today. I guess the working class sushi that the Nagori sushi came from was mostly just mackerel, and it sort of
Lucky peasants.
and it was sort of vinegary and stuff. It's sort of different than the stuff you.
I know, I love mackerel.
There you
so much.
okay.
I love mackerel.
Was it elusive?
You can get mackerel. It's really easy to get mackerel.
Mackerel's good.
Yeah.
Raw, it's fantastic. I don't know. I've never had it cooked.
Very oily.
Yes, that's why I like it.
Often
Yeah.
pickled.
Yeah. That's it. Boy, that pickled herring.
Yeah. Did you eat all those?
Of course.
If you're just tuning into us, we are actually an RPG tabletop.
We will get to that at some point,
Yes,
but then we'll get distracted.
again.
Red herrings from Steve and SoCal. Illustrious Lords of Douchington.
And
I was recently considered, and ladies of Douchington. I was recently considered where to draw the line between lying, misleading, withholding, and over-explaining things to players in an attempt to create an engaging and mysterious game.
It sounds like an evening with my wife.
To elaborate, it does. To elaborate,
Oh, well played.
I'm on steroids. I'm quick tonight.
Yeah.
To elaborate, I struggle a bit with how to lay out a scene with some amount of mystery or intrigue without giving it away too easily, but also without frustrating the players later when they seemingly had no idea that anything was amiss. Examples I'll use are as follows. In my current L5R game, there was an NPC Scorpion who came across as an obese courtier, but who was in fact a skilled bushi in an elaborate fat suit. Oh, that's awesome. When it came time for him to reveal his true skill, I had a lingering feeling that some of the players could have been resentful that they had never picked up on that. I don't think I ever outright lied, but at the same time, every time I described him, I made sure to mention his weight and occasionally offered subtle hints that something was off about him. Similarly, in the same game, there was a set of twins that would often be seen wildly different
There's an
locations
missing, yes.
at nearly the same time. Neither of these was a critical plot point to the campaign, but I worried about portraying them well. Another example is from one of Stu's recent Bloodblade and Tusk sessions with the encounter with the mayor. Spoilers ahead for those who haven't listened to session 2. When Stu mentioned that one of the attackers was a guard, I paused for a moment, and I hoped that this would be a red herring, and that it was in fact one of the mayor's guards running towards him to aid instead of attack. No one in the session seemed to interpret it that way, which is fine, but it would have been another layer of intrigue if a player had attacked the guard thinking they were helping the mayor, but in fact were getting in his way instead. When you're trying to introduce something amiss, how do you do it subtly, but also with enough warning that the players don't feel lied to, and also without setting them off on too many wild goose chases. Tracking down bears in the woods while Nazis escape in their zeppelins comes to mind.
Never going to live that one down.
Nope.
Because that would never happen in a game.
No.
But we shot the shit out of that bear.
You shot the
And you
shit
know
out
what?
of
It
that
was
bear.
the first Savage Worlds combat we ever had.
And you
That was
killed
the deadest
shit
bear
out
in
of
Dead
it.
we did.
Onion.
It was skidded in front of it. It was awesome.
That was the deadest bear in Deadonia.
First time we rolled Savage Worlds damage was
Explosive dice and everything.
awesome.
Yeah. If things are on the up and up, I'm likely to say the town guard approaches you, whereas simply phrasing the encounter as an armed man approaches you, looking you up and down, has a completely different context. Maybe the player has every reason to believe that this is a town guard, despite the fact that it's actually a doppelganger. But if you don't telegraph it too much, they're going to get suspicious where their character has no reason to be. Also, when it comes to perception and sense motive checks, what are your thoughts on telling the players that something seems odd, even when they fail the roll, and just giving additional details when they succeed? This seems like a potential solution for the problem I just made up. So at least they are warned that something is off. Then when the guard turns out to be fake, they're not surprised, or maybe the guard is just a guard. But the sense of foreboding was set off by the shadow of the dragon flying overhead. Thanks for your hundreds of hours of entertainment, Steve and SoCal. The Grimace on the forums.
Okay. I have thoughts.
Go.
Well, the first thing I would suggest is try not to say something is something. It's not, you never. I would not describe them as being. You see a guard walking towards you.
This is a guard walking towards you, right?
Right. You see a man in a guard uniform walking towards you. Mm-hmm. Now, whether he is a guard or not, it's up to them to decide what they think.
Right.
Now, if he has some credential, that indicates that he is in fact an FBI agent, you can take that as more reliable or not, as you see fit. But if when it's really a guard, if you say you see a guard walking towards you, the minute you change how you phrase that, you're going to tip them off that something's up.
Yeah.
And ideally, I think you want them wondering whether something is real or not. And then if they choose to inspect more closely, you put dice on the table, and depending on the outcome of those dice, you decide whether the additional details that you give them are real or misleading. You never outright lie to a player, but you can give them misleading information. You can give them information and let them draw their own conclusions.
GMs, you're like, I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm not going to tell you the truth.
It's if you let them draw their own conclusions, they will more often than not go to a more interesting place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Than if you tell them, this is the guard.
Right. Describe what they see.
Describe what they see.
Right.
Don't draw conclusions for them.
Right.
When you read a book, oftentimes they say things like the guard doesn't show up, but armed men wearing badges show up. It's usually pretty good at describing things, and I think that's something that GMs need to learn. It's a very good point, which is not to say what is, but say what they see.
Right.
And
Don't
let
tell.
them decide
Right.
what is.
One of the GM principles in Bad Streets is describe, don't identify.
That's a really good action.
great.
I like that.
And what is Bad Streets?
Bad Streets is a Powered by the Apocalypse game of gritty set in street crime drama set as a 1970s TV show.
Starsky and Hutch.
Starsky and Hutch, Toma, Beretta.
Hill Street Blues.
Hill Street
be
Blues
right
would be a
back.
good example. Policewoman, Mod Squad, good examples.
Policewoman. That was a good show.
Yeah. I am... My month of November is finishing the book.
Nice.
The goal is to have the book written by the end of November, and then, depending on how things go, Kickstarter early next year.
I played it at a con a year or so ago, and I have to say, I think back on that episode a lot. the way it fell together, the table that we had
Had a
was
really good table for that game.
Really in on it, and everybody gave everybody room to shine, and then the moment the beats, and you had this flashback mechanic. I thought that was fun. Yeah.
It started out as original objective was to learn how to write an Apocalypse World hack. That's what I wanted to do. Along the way, I think what I've been creating is interesting enough and good enough that I think it merits completing.
Cool.
Excellent.
So,
Yeah, I'm right now looking for a editor proofreader for Moment of Truth because I'm going to get one. Give them a delivery date because I got to get that freaking thing birthed.
That's kind of where I am, and that's what the purpose of the Kickstarter would be to pay for my editor, and for art, and for layout. And I've got an artist that I really like his stuff, and he's who I would like to use if I can, but it's probably going to be pretty expensive. I haven't even talked to him about it yet.
Right.
I'm too busy.
And he's probably pretty busy because he's good.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Okay. Well, I'll find somebody else then, man. Thank you, though.
I still can't.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is also a great opportunity, going back to the actual topic of our show.
Oh, right. There was that.
I did ask about the game, so
Yeah.
I'm happy that we would. I love when we plug our stuff, but I think this is also a really great opportunity to use Slack or Notes or something, because if someone is looking really closely, or for the character who's wearing the suit, what if they happen to walk in while they were changing clothes? That person might see something, even if it was really close. Right. L5R is a bad example because you never walk into someone's room while they were naked or whatever. Right. But there might be opportunities to slip little bits of information to certain players to get them to ask more questions. You have to be careful a bit when it's another PC, because you don't necessarily want to force them to show their hand if it's something that they're wanting to keep from the other players. That's totally valid, and that's something that's okay. But yeah, having those notes pass back and forth too. So some people might figure it out, but not everybody. You don't just say it out in front of everyone, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I think it's important to try to keep the mystery alive. And when you hit that moment of reveal later on, the perfect scenario is you do the reveal, and then you watch all of the players as they roll back in their minds over everything you told them and go, yes. Oh my God, it was all right there in front of us, and we didn't see it.
Yeah. And that's so rare.
It's rare. Yeah, it's rare, and it's hard.
Right.
And
I can count on one hand the times that
yeah, me too.
That happens. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I can count on one fingerless hand how many times it happens.
But is it wrong to telegraph everything and just let them know ahead of time that guy's the bad guy?
No, it's not wrong.
No, it's not wrong.
I think it depends on the situation.
Okay.
If you're in an L5R game and you're at Winter Court or something like that, where if you draw a sword, there's going to be a big shitstorm, and they can suddenly one of the player characters notices something about the guy who's supposed to be a courtier, but he's actually, maybe they see something like that his fat suit is shifting in some weird way, and you're like, this guy's wearing something underneath his kimono that is not his body, or something like that. You could give them that kind of clue. It's like, huh. So, that puts them in a position where they know something, but they're not in a position where they can act on it necessarily.
Oh, no, I get it.
But it allows them the opportunity to orchestrate maybe a scenario where they can have a reveal.
Yeah.
Right.
Of this
or some way to take him down, because we all know that Darth Vader was the villain.
Sure.
Right? And there was no mystery, and it didn't take away from my enjoyment of the fact that
right.
movie.
But also
you can't take him down.
Star Wars
he's so gnarly.
Star Wars isn't a mystery.
Yeah.
But you could easily have a samurai show up in black armor who is obviously the bad assassin, and there's no way that you can take him on at that time by yourself.
Sure.
You would need to orchestrate stuff later on.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's still rampaging and coming up with machinations until you get to the point where you can take him down. Which is ostensibly Star Wars.
I think that's the most. Give me 1 second.
Good.
I think that is, for me, the most enjoyable thing is when the player characters know something, but they don't have enough proof to be able to act on it, and
or
they're
don't
not
have the ability,
and they're not in a situation where they can act on it. Because that the frustration of, I know that's the bad guy.
Right.
I know that's the bad guy.
And adding into that, being in a situation where they cannot resort to weapons.
Right.
great. But going back to your Star Wars example too, there's a lot that they had to figure out. Like it was, and like yes, Darth Vader's the bad guy, but then finding out who Darth Vader was, finding out that Darth Vader wasn't working alone, working, all these things.
But that didn't matter. You knew
it did matter. It mattered a great deal.
That he crushed people's throats just with a thought, and had his sorcerer's ways, and we didn't care that he was Anakin.
But they didn't.
We didn't even know.
Right. Well, the rebels didn't really know that at the beginning. Like the other people did, but because remember, like a lot of people still didn't believe in the Force at the beginning of the movies.
No,
so it was kind of the slow reveal as Luke is discovering the Force, you discover it with him, and eventually you see the full power of it by the end of the trilogy. So there's definitely, like, if that were an RPG, there's not just like, oh, here's the bad guy. Like, it's not a matter of them just not being powerful enough. They also had to figure out everything that went along with how to take him down, and eventually figuring out that he wasn't even the big bad. He wasn't even the boss.
Well, that's that's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Darth Vader walks onto a ship, and it's there's firefights and everything, and he's surviving it all. But and eventually you take him down, and then there's somebody else that was pulling his strings, and that's kind of the way these things work.
Okay, we all knew that from early on in Episode 4 because there's always the Emperor back there. He's that shadowy figure that we haven't seen, but he's back there.
Well, it's an empire, of course.
Right, it's an empire.
We're assuming if Vader is working for the Empire, he's working for the Emperor.
Right.
Well, and he's taking, and in the first movie, he takes orders from the officers there. So he's not even the most powerful person on that particular ship. At the
from
beginning.
Tarkin.
Yeah.
Well, in the novels, there's all kinds of political struggles between.
If you really want to think about this, Star Wars is really L5R in space.
Yeah.
The Jedi are samurai. And and even their armor and their fighting styles and all that. But okay, all that aside, there's the political machinations. There's the stuff going on, and pretty much.
Well, yeah, they are. They're kind of a warrior
or
cast.
They are. They're a monastic warrior cast. I don't know that I would label them samurai.
Well,
but
they're space samurai.
I might be being too specific.
They're space samurai.
Yeah.
but if the dark samurai shows up in court, representing the Emperor, and he's the Emperor's executioner, and
his helmet looks like a Japanese helmet.
Right. You're not going to confront him or take him on. It doesn't take away. There's no mystery involved that who this guy is. He's obviously the bad guy. He's obviously here to deal death. It doesnn't take away from the enjoyment for me.
Right.
So
sure.
I guess my point being that you could try to make the Emperor's executioner look like Barney Fife from Andy Griffith. If you wanted, that would be playing opposite.
Well, you can go back to Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Where the spoilers, if you haven't seen it, skip for the next 4 or 5 minutes. The big bad guy in Wonder Woman,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
is the most nebbish actor on the planet.
Right.
You're never going to think that he is the god of war.
I think immediately walked in.
Because the reason is because he would be the person you would last suspect.
Right.
Well, actually, for me, it was because of the villain formula.
But quite frankly, the actor couldn't pull it off.
But
I never bought him as the god of war.
I'll buy that. But if you look at I maintain that if you look at the opening credits, you have the hero, the heroine, and then the villain.
Right.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, he's kind of a small character, the big name actor.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That's metagaming.
It's totally
metagaming.
I know.
It's totally meta movie, but
But
why
then
would they
when
pay
he was
this
like
big name actor for such a small part?
Right. And then when he was talking about being a pacifist, you're like, oh no, you're the guy. You're the guy.
Yeah, but you're metagaming though.
I know.
It's because you knew who was cast in the role.
It's just like Ernie. Yeah.
It's true.
Because everyone knows that Professor
movie,
Lupin is not going to take a bit part.
Yeah, exactly.
There was another thought I had on here.
You lost it.
But that is a good example of misdirection.
Yeah.
Miscasting, but also misdirection, because you have a character who does not have the traits, just like your big fat. Your big fat courtier who's actually a skilled bushi.
Right. One thing you could do on that though, because he's wearing this elaborate fat suit. But does it extend above his neck?
Right.
Because if he's got this, fat ponderous
body,
but is he, does he have
how many chins does he have?
narrow, angular face?
Right.
Because those are things that disconnect,
Sure.
and you can include that in your description And then it's really kind of up to the players whether they catch that or not.
Sure.
I would have just loved to have the Bushi be a big fat guy anyway, like, you know, Kung Fu Panda kind of thing.
But just a total badass.
Or
But he's
just-
just
yeah,
big
yeah.
bad.
He's
Which would be
Yeah,
awesome.
he'd be like Kung Fu Panda, or just, I mean, Drunken
Or Jack
Master,
Black.
where it's like you completely underestimate the fact that he really does know his shit.
Yeah. I don't know.
Karate, I'll kick
In
your
fact,
ass.
I might steal that idea now that I'm
There you
thinking
go.
about it.
It's a beautiful idea. One other point, in his last paragraph, he's talking about doing die rolls, and if they fail, just giving them the information anyway, and then giving them additional details if they succeed.
Why make them roll a die to begin with?
Yeah, if you're going to give them the information anyway, why make them roll a die? But if you're going to make them roll a die, if they fail, give them misinformation. Give them things that lead them to erroneous conclusions. Don't give them the conclusion.
The problem with that, is the GM making perception rolls? I usually don't enforce this. My preference as a GM is that I make perception rolls for people, but I don't enforce it because most players want to be able to roll them themselves. So I just, you failed. Okay, it's this.
Right.
I would prefer if I roll. Let's say I'm rolling Jib's perception roll for his character. Oh, it's a critical failure. No, that guy's a big fat guy. You're pretty.
I,
sure
as a
he's
player,
big
would
fat
be
guy.
fine with that,
Right.
but not every player would be.
No. That's why I don't push it.
To be fair, in your style of games these days, and I like this, maybe you're not aware of it, is that perception is sort of a fluid thing, and until a player says, "Can I roll perception?" then you say, "Sure." And then once that player rolls perception, then you either say, "No, you didn't notice it," or you give them more details. But for the most part, you just tell people what is important until somebody says, "I want to roll perception." I think that's a really great way to play it, because now you're just giving them stuff that they think that you want them to know,
Right.
And you're giving them the bare bones stuff. And then when somebody goes,
I want to look
"Something's
more
off.
closely at
Something's
that.
off about him. Can I roll perception on him?" Yes, you can.
Right.
That's your style. I don't know if you noticed that. Or
I
not.
haven't,
It's a
no.
really wonderful way to play that, because until somebody asks if they can check for it, just tell them stuff.
Right.
And then once they roll, then you can make that you notice something or you didn't notice something.
I agree.
Sorry.
Sure, right.
Sounds fair.
For a little bit there, you sounded like Emo Phillips.
Did I?
This is an Emo Phillips.
It's been a really long day.
I think you had a burp that wasn't out. All right, did we beat this enough, or
I think it's glue.
I kind of think it's very difficult to walk that when you're doing mysteries. It's really difficult to walk that line, and you're going to want to either fall over completely obscure or fall over completely obvious with the clues you're giving. And the only thing I can think to do is if you have a character who is someone that they're not supposed to be, sit down beforehand and come up with like 3 or 4 little slip-ups that character might do. And if the players are like completely oblivious and not suspecting the guy at all, maybe give them the first one and say, "Oh,
You
yeah,
talking about tells or something?
yeah, something like the guy in the fat suit. You notice like when he moves his arm, you see like some sort of strap underneath his kimono or something.
Or just the way he moves.
Right. Or
He
just-
doesn't move like a big man.
Or maybe that's the first thing. He seems to move with more grace than you expect. Or maybe maybe if they're not quite getting it, maybe the second thing is you notice like a strap or something that some sort of harness or something.
Yeah.
And maybe the third thing is you actually see him like when he doesn't think anyone's watching move very swiftly or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but if you can come up with 2 or 3 things that where that person might slip up and give up who they actually are or give up their facade, that having that stuff and like bullet pointing them and putting them in an order and saying least obvious to most obvious.
Yeah.
And that way you're giving the players at least an opportunity to at least notice there's something amiss. Then if one of the players says, something's wrong with this guy, I'm going to watch him like a hawk.
I'm going to look more closely.
Yeah.
Okay, make a
some dice down.
perception roll.
Yeah.
Now you can say, there's definitely something not right about this guy.
Right.
You don't have to tell him what it is.
Right.
But you can tell him, your suspicions. You are definitely suspicious of this guy. Something is not right.
And I guarantee you what's going to happen
And that's
is
fair.
your players are going to ignore that and end up latching onto the waitress anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
And now you're going to have to come up with stuff for the waitress that you never had planned.
And then you're
because
going to have to shoot a bear.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and all that. Oh, you took my fan down.
Yeah.
That was my foreboding. See, I've got one here too.
Oh, that one's good. I like that one.
Foreshadowing?
This one, it wasn't showing all the way, so it looked like a light was like sticking down.
Oh, really? Okay.
It looked like I didn't do a good job of our set
It
dressing.
threw off the symmetry.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I got my fan
I
out.
have to put something.
I have a
on
special
this.
kimono to wear for our.
I'm gonna get the skull a hat with the moon, crescent moon
nice.
thing.
So you said
gotta
foreboding.
make
you
that-
mean-
I
you
just
mean-
want to see you flirt with Dave again.
Foreshadowing is what
That's
you
it.
mean.
I will flirt with Dave. I'm gonna flirt the shit out of Dave. Anyone play anything this week?
Not this week. I'm gonna let Kimmy go first because she played more recently than I did.
I did. I played Dead Rain. I
did not GM Dead
die.
Rain.
No, you didn't. You were having
I had
plumbing
house.
issues.
I had house.
It was real
problems.
plumbing issues. It wasn't like plumbing issues. It was like house plumbing issues.
What happened?
My sewer main.
Yeah.
I had to have it.
The main.
I had to have it routed.
Eesh.
Well, it turns out I have a washout. Everyone would love to know that I have a washout for my sewer main.
Where was it?
It's on the side of the house.
You know what that means?
You found it.
Well, I found it when there was a bunch of water running down the
It's
street.
the pipe leaking.
Yeah.
No, it was a plug. It was
It's the plug.
Plug
It's the
out.
plug that you get
The
to.
sewer main is a big like 6-inch pipe that goes out to the city, and it was clogged. I don't know what my kids put down the toilet to clog it, but it must have been
They're
epic.
kind of old for that.
My children?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sometimes it's just cumulative.
It could be right, but they routed it and
You
that
fat
fixed
birds.
it. But that's after I had another plumber come because the toilet was the thing that was the problem. And then,
I really enjoyed that Dead Rain session.
Yeah.
sorry.
No. I'm
my
just
plumbing.
bringing it back around
Thank you. Bye-bye.
because it was we've finally in the last episode or two gotten to see the conflict that we've been wanting since the beginning, and that was the detonation between Jolene and Ruby.
Oh, the sisters?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sister fight. Yeah.
and when that, and we've been, all of us have been watching. We're going, come on. Oh, they didn't do it.
yeah.
You guys barely stand each other as it is. I mean, it was
Yeah,
finally came to a head. Third session.
it was real. There were real feels and real emotion, and I was the moment that I was actually kind of waiting for, because Rob kept would nudge his way in there. I just kept waiting for Jolene to backhand him.
Yeah.
It's like, this is between Ruby and me. Stay out of it. But
Just like in real life, he says the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person.
Where did you guys end up?
At the end of the last, I'm not going to say. We'll listen to the end of it, just because there's spoilers.
I'm just curious because we've been having a hard time prepping because
Yeah.
you guys never know where you're going to go at the end of the
Right.
session.
yeah.
Well, and Ruby won't let us run away from anything. So things that we should logically run away from. It makes sense that she doesn't want to run away. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense for her character, but I'm saying situations where probably we should just get GTFO, we're like, oh,
He's
no,
like,
we'll
no,
fight
no,
things.
I have zombies to kill.
Yeah. No, yeah. So it's like, okay, we're getting better at it, but we're still.
I'm digging it.
Yeah.
I'm digging it. I like
no,
it.
it's super fun. It's a really fun.
We're probably figuring one more session.
Yes, it will not be this weekend.
There's nothing this weekend.
Nothing this weekend. We canceled Moat on Sunday. I think Moat might be going next weekend, the 19th, and then the last Dead Rain will be after that.
Okay. And Moat's got 3 more sessions, I think, total.
We might add one. Yeah, is that with the addition?
I don't know if we need to add. Well,
We'll
we've
look at it.
We had 37. I'm planning on finishing on the 40th.
Oh, I see.
Cool.
So if we get
Nice
3
round
sessions
number.
in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. We missed our last session of Spaniard Ghost because the Dodgers had to play a baseball game in town that night, and
And that screwed up traffic.
that
Yeah,
screwed
and
up
this makes
traffic
it so nobody can get anywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was not going to
it
do
was the
3
World
hours
Series.
one way
I mean,
to
Yeah.
get here.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the decency to win the
I
series.
didn't even win. But we are going to play
All that
Wednesday.
traffic for nothing.
For nothing.
I know. But we are going to play this coming Wednesday. And we will have a special surprise guest.
Excellent.
Um,
Gary Gygax.
and there are things
Guys,
afoot.
we're gonna make you play Savage Worlds.
I'm going to raise him from the dead and make him play Savage Worlds.
Spanish Ghost.
That really is what we should do for Dead Rain.
Is have the zombie of Gary Gygax and David Arneson.
You don't know who's controlling those guys on the hill.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
We also played Tomorrow Legion this week. And that went really well. It was a good session. We finally. Well, I guess we're not supposed to do spoilers. Sorry. We did the thing that we've been looking for. We haven't done it yet, but we got to the place to do the thing.
Excellent.
We got to the place and did the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
And I watched.
Oh, you were very helpful in that, by the way.
Much of Razor
Excellent.
Ridge, and Razor Ridge looks like it's exciting
Yeah.
and fun.
That's,
Yeah.
Cool things
Oh,
happening.
Yeah.
Yep.
The weird thing about werewolf, because you expect it just sort of be werewolves attacking each other, but they can have this whole like side slipping thing where they can like walk in between dreams, and so there's like a whole other world they get to do. And I'm like, God, werewolves are kind of mystical and kind of kind of like they're less than just these bloodthirsty animals, which you kind of just wanted them to be.
Right.
They're really much more of a shadow walker.
Well,
kind
there's more depth to it than that. But there's one thing about werewolf that my brain doesn't connect with. Okay, one of the main parts of the litany, which is the governing laws of being a werewolf, is you're not supposed to have sex with other werewolves.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in werewolf form or
No,
just
no,
at all?
at all.
Oh.
Because they make bad werewolves.
That's the idea. Is
right.
it makes bad
Oh,
werewolves.
yeah.
I can't remember what they're called. There's a
but
name for them.
it just kind of because
Only
part of
if
being a
you're-
werewolf is embracing the animal.
Isn't it only if
And-
you're born werewolves? Like two born werewolves can't have sex.
That's the only kind of
No?
werewolves there are. Is born
never
werewolves.
mind.
Yeah, but
in their thing.
Oh.
but that's it. It's just the one thing about the game that just jangles in my brain somehow, because it seems like that would be the most natural thing about being a werewolf is
Well,
embracing the animal part.
They produce mules.
Right. I get that. That's what the fiction of
I
the
know.
game says.
It does seem
It's-
kind of weird.
It just that one thing seems a little off to me about the game.
Right, which I kind of forgot in the
Would
Mode
not
of-
stop me from playing.
I forgot that in the Mode of Sin game because all the people were werewolves.
Yeah.
The men and the women.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're all using birth control. I see.
Right? That seems like it would be a
It's just,
thing.
like I said, totally would not stop me from playing. And Werewolf is one of the games that I seriously want to play. I haven't gotten to.
Yeah.
But it's just the one thing about the game that I kind of go, huh?
Flashbacks from Axel.
Who wants to read?
Oh, I can do it.
Do the
Hello,
thing.
hello, Stork Stew. Good discussion on flashbacks, time travel topic. Here are my commandments for flashbacks, time travel, and the like. 1. Don't make it essential for success. This means let the characters have fun exploring the other world, time, dimension, whatever, but do not make what they do there essential to the main game. It's okay to let them find items and knowledge that make their main characters' lives easier, but not succeeding on the side setting should not totally screw up the main game. It's a side setting, or 2. Number 2, 2-ish. It's a side setting. The main game is the main game. In other words, the main game still takes the majority of game time. The main characters are important ones. The alternate episodes are concise. Otherwise, things spiral out of control and make things frustrating for everyone.
I feel like he wrote this email just for you to read.
3. Make it clear. Why do you say that?
Just because there's so many. Like,
Because it says hello,
main-
Stork Stew.
yeah.
Make it clear that the connections, make it clear what the connections are. Don't let the settings meander side by side. Let players understand what does that. Limiting player agency and adding a little bit of railroading in the alternate scenarios is fine. Remember, they are spice to your main game, to be used sparingly.
Unless it's Indian food.
Woo! So my point is, keep the focus on the main game. While adding different settings may be fun at first, things get confusing and out of hand very quickly. Part the second, an alternative setting, the Night Island, I've used in various games, so I thought that others might like it too. Why are you writing furiously?
I'm making notes.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, he really
He's
okay.
very dedicated.
The characters settle in for a nice rest in
He
the
wants
main
to get
game.
a C+. He's not settling for a C-.
After falling asleep, they find themselves waking up on an island beach, naked, in the middle of the night.
Am I?
Should I play some porn music?
The water appears black. There's no waves and a little warm wind. The stars are strange constellations. No moon, otherworldly and strange. The island mainly is a thick, thorny brambles that create paths the players can follow. On the island, they will encounter all kinds of shadowy creatures, battle shapeless horrors, maybe find an abandoned or inhabited tower. So they'll have to piece together some kind of solution to complete the island. The island should be scary, mystical,
porn.
different from main game, but interesting enough to make the players want to explore it. It's Lost.
Okay, wait. I have to interrupt you because I'm not sure whether to be aroused or creeped out now.
Okay, you should be creeped out.
Okay.
I'm just wandering around naked with a bunch of brambles.
Right? I'm not leaving that.
Ow!
Stand on the beach.
I'm standing on the shore.
I'm going back to bed until I wake back up and I'm off that beach. Yeah.
Screw this.
Okay.
I'm out.
So 4 things make it interesting and connect to the main game. 1. Any injuries they sustain in their dreams carry over to the main game. Also, a night with an island dream does not count as a full night's rest in the main game. This makes characters dread falling asleep, since they never know when they'll reappear on that island again. The characters enter the island at random intervals, or whenever the GM needs it. They will be in the same location where they were the last dream ended. Whenever the GM needs it? Why would they need to?
This is for like...
It's for GM fiat.
Yeah.
Whenever the GM just wants to.
They had to take them to the island. All right.
Yeah, he wants them naked and wandering around through thorns.
Brambles.
Wish them into the cornfield. 2. The characters retain most of their skills, GM discretion to what extent supernatural powers work, but no equipment, no weapons, etc. can be found on the island. However, the characters will, over time, discover that they can dream pieces of equipment. The dreaming skill is to be used in dream only. Let the characters create simple clubs first, and then pointed sticks. You get the idea. 3. There is no escape. Characters will fall asleep in the main game to wake up in the island whether they like it or not. Characters on the island can't leave, nor can they stay in the same place for a long period of time. Monsters will emerge from the bushes and chase them, so you can't stay on the beach like we thought.
Damn it.
Yep.
What a swim.
The solution of the island quest coincides with a major milestone.
Wait a minute. What's the name of that series that what's-his-name did?
Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Gilligan's Island.
Because you're all dead.
So 4, the solution. Yeah, that's the metagame of Gilligan's Island. Is they're all dead. The solution of the island quest coincides with a major milestone in the main game. Things come together, dimensions merge when they quote solve the island. They should gain a major advantage in final quest battle resolution of the main game storyline. If they fail on the island, things are a little harder in the main game, but not impossible. For example, they can find a magic MacGuffin on the island that they can use in the main game, and on their final waking up of dream, actually have it in their hands. The island setting can be as big or small as needed and drawn out over as many episodes as GM and players find interesting. It works best if the episodes happen randomly. Keep up the outstanding work.
Outstanding.
Okay. Obviously, because I was making notes, I have thoughts.
Yes.
Okay, first off, if on one of his points is don't make it essential for success, this means let the characters have fun. But I said my note here is, but feel free to fuck with them if they step on a moth.
Yes.
If they, because if they do things here, make it count.
Yes.
He does say that.
Yeah. So my next note was, he says, keep the focus on the main game while adding different settings. May be fun at first. Things get confusing and out of hand very quickly. Yeah, time travel. Yep. That's just the nature of time travel. But the main thing I wanted to kind of get to was the 4 things that make it interesting connect to the main game. If things like injuries they sustain in the dream carry over to the main game, and then things that they do in the dream world have ramifications. But that disconnects with, he made the statement that things in the dream world don't affect the real world. And I think you should make things in the dream world affect the real world if you're going to do that. And think of it like in Stranger Things, the upside down. The dream world is the upside down. where things can happen and things matter, but it's all screwed up and weird. But GM, it's your job to keep that moving in the right, moving and flowing, and dealing with what comes up and how to make that all weave together. Because you chose to do a time travel and alternate world story,
Which never should.
which I don't think you should do. But that's
They're hard.
I thought you pulled it off really well in the vampire game.
That was very restricted.
Yeah.
Well,
and
but
it-
that doesn't negate the point that you pulled it off really well. And maybe by having those parameters, that's a great way to make that stuff work.
Yeah, that was very specific because it was different characters.
Yes.
It wasn't the main characters.
That was huge.
And basically what had happened for those who haven't seen that, what had happened is
Or heard it.
someone had cheated and used time because the mages aren't supposed to do that.
Right.
None of the players had cheated. A person in the world, an NPC had cheated.
Yes. And basically had gone back and grabbed a dead NPC and put him in the present. But went back before he had been killed and basically
Yank him
brought
forward.
him. So that NPC is wreaking havoc. The main party is off getting ready to go fight or has just fought or is in the process of fighting. And the players made new characters, and they basically replayed a day in the main game. So they started 24 hours prior to when the previous game had happened, and they were going to play that day out while the regular players were off doing something else.
And the restrictions are that they're in the same world. The players know much of what the other players already did because some of them actually played those characters.
Yeah.
And they only had 24 hours in which to do stuff. But it doesn't negate the fact that it was really well pulled off and really well done. And it was a time travel game.
Yeah.
I mean, and the repercussions of that little moment are trickling through the game currently.
Right.
It was really well pulled off. I think that's the kind of thing that if you're going to do flashbacks, you're going to do time travel. Restrictions are fine. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let
You
them.
have to.
Necessary.
This kind of open-ended island thing might be a little dangerous if they're spending days and days and days.
Yeah.
It depends how it fits in with everything
the type
else.
of game you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It totally depends how it fits in with everything else. I mean, it could be sort of like a dream world kind of thing that is just an alternate reality. The safest way to run a time travel game is like GURPS Infinite Worlds, where and that is the Infinite Worlds theory that there are alternate universes where time is moving at a slightly different pace. So you're not actually traveling through time; you're skipping dimensions.
Yeah.
Right, you're not going to create paradoxes every time you go
You
out and
can't
do
create paradoxes because they're all different timelines.
Yeah.
So you skip from
Right.
reality prime to reality 2, and it's 50 years earlier.
Yeah.
So you have the advantage of knowing what things happened 50 years ago. So your characters have that awesome advantage and can go and tweak things and do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
I would go with they might know what happened 50 years ago.
It depends.
They know what
how
happened
alternate,
50 years ago in their
time.
timeline.
It depends how alternate the timeline
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Sure.
But if you jump between timelines and then you change something, you've changed it there, but not
12 Monkeys pulls that
Anywhere
off really
else.
But
well.
your timeline's fine.
your timeline's tootling along doing the same thing.
Right.
Except that for the last 24 hours you've been non-existent in
Well,
your timeline.
12 Monkeys pulls that off.
It does,
really well.
but that's also a written show.
Right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have player characters.
characters.
You know,
It's
fucking
true.
imagine
Yeah.
how well that
Yeah.
show would do if
I mean-
all of the actors got to improv.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's hard enough to do that when you're just writing a story
Right.
Sure.
and
yeah.
keep everything
Straight.
When is the next season of 12 Monkeys coming out, by the way?
I don't know.
Is
Is that a Netflix show?
Yeah.
it Netflix or is it Hulu?
Might be Hulu.
I don't know. Sorry.
I don't remember now.
If only we had a way to look these things up. Oh well.
If I had a computer, I could hold in my hand and and look these things up.
But I mean, I like experiments like this. I think it's a fun thing to do, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And if they work, share them, and if they don't,
I think these are wonderful, fun ideas. I just think there are. I think if I was going to do it, things that happen in the dream world really impact the real world too. Kind of like he alluded to, where if they take damage in the dream world, they have those wounds when they wake up.
Yeah, I think that's a cool thing. That should just happen.
I agree. And
or it's translated as a different kind of damage, or something like that.
Yeah,
psychic damage.
Or like you take a sword wound, or you get bitten by a monster in the dream world, and you wake up the next morning and you don't have the wound, but you have scar.
Yeah,
Right.
that's cool.
Where it becomes a narratively relevant thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
or someone else has the scar.
which could be even more fun.
Right.
But it's still on the GM to keep those things woven together.
Yeah.
It's always going to be the GM's problem to do that.
And I mean, that's I think the last email kind of talks about similar things. Let's go on to that.
Yeah.
Unless
Kimmy, you want to
have
read?
Yes, it's my turn. I will read. Oh, right.
It's very short.
It's very long.
I read the podcast tonight. Okay. Quick time travel suggestions from Lewis. Julian's email. A solution that won't be too meta. When the characters go to sleep, they become active writers in the minds of past characters. For them to affect the past in that dream state, they have to successfully make will checks. So see what was written in the cave, for instance. Lewis. Done.
I dig it.
I like this because they're more passive.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't have the ability to throw wrenches, but they can still glean information.
They can glean information. They could maybe nudge something.
Yeah.
But they can't act directly.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of dig that.
That's something I was trying to say earlier, which is like it really depends on the type of game or what you're trying to give your players. I mean, you can give them a MacGuffin that falls from Dreamtime into their hands, a holy sword or whatever that alters reality, or you can just give them information. It really depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish with this time travel flashback thing. Stu is doing a lot by actually affecting the plot with the characters going back in time and affecting things. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. It could just be information. Yeah. You could have them play an episode where they learn about their character's parents, and their messed up, relationship or whatever it is, and then that can affect the players later on, or now they've learned a bit of history that was obscured. It really is dependent on what it is you're trying to share with your characters and what it is you're trying to do. Yeah. I think that time travel can be really slippery if you think if you say to yourself, this is going to be fun. We're just going to have you guys go back in time and do stuff, and then we'll flash forward and then see what happens. Mm-hmm. That's when you're going to bone your players and your game, and you're going to find yourself regretting you ever made that decision.
Like the time travel I did in the D&D game, where Bruce went, I've figured out a way I can communicate with this guy.
That's right. Yeah,
that was pretty epic, though. That was pretty amazing.
Your mistake was doing a time travel game
with Bruce
at the table.
Yes,
love you, Bruce.
That was because basically what had happened is there was a series of magical boxes that was used by a king and someone else, and they could write a note and put it in the box, and it would transport to the other box. Yeah, and Bruce had one of the two boxes in his pouch, and they used one of the little mirror orbs, because they had this thing where you could transport from different places using orbs in these special mirrors. And they had one that was kind of screwed up and fucked up, and it actually took you through time rather than space. So they went back in time. Sorry, getting over bronchitis.
Through time rather
orbs,
than space.
Mirrors.
10,000 years earlier or something. It was a long-ass time. And they went back in time, and they were there kind of as ghosts. They could see everything that was going on, and this is how I had planned it. Mm-hmm. They could see everything that was going on, but they couldn't affect anything. They couldn't talk. No one could see them. They couldn't manipulate anything at all. But Bruce had the box, and he saw the other box sitting on the table next to the Emperor, and he's like, "Huh, I'm going to try this." And
Didn't he steal it from them?
he
No,
had
okay.
he
had one already.
he had the other box. You guys had found the other box somewhere
That's
else.
right. Okay, he'd stolen it, but in our time.
He wrote a note and he put it in the box, and I'm like, well, yeah, that would have. It's here. It's that. Yeah, it would appear. It would appear in this box. And then they get back to your normal timeline, and of course, the whole world is taking a big giant shit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
As it should,
As
It
it
should-
should.
yeah.
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 That was
because
fun though.
messing with time is
dangerous.
dangerous.
Yes.
As a side note, something that might be kind of cool too, if you actually do a time travel thing, and I'm thinking back on that really early Star Trek episode, Mirror Mirror, where they go back to it's not necessarily time, it's alternate dimensions, alternate versions of themselves.
Right.
But what's kind of neat, and I'd forgotten about it, but BBC has redone all of those Star Treks, and they play them now and again, and they're all remastered, and they're actually kind of neat. They actually have new effects. Anyway, I'd forgotten that when Kirk comes back from being evil Kirk, and he comes back to the Enterprise, the person that was in charge, that was his lover,
Did he have a goatee?
that was Spock.
Oh.
Spock
And
had a
Spock
goatee.
didn't
I
change
know.
that much, but he still had the goatee, and it was really, truly awesome.
It was a
But
joke.
but the person that was his lover, that was because he was a manic Kirk back in anyway.
Was it Yeoman Rand?
He runs into her, and she's just a lowly sort of ensign or whatever, but she's actually still in his world. She like hands him a clipboard, he signs it, and does
That
one of those
wasn't
double takes.
Yeoman Rand?
It wasn't
Yeah.
Yeoman Rand. It was
wasn't.
somebody else.
Okay.
But the point being that you can have the people that were in the past, if they come to the future, still be there, but they're not
The same.
as influential anymore.
Right.
Which might be a really neat little like tickle. It's like, oh yeah, the person that was the big bad is now handing you the clipboard, and they just because the way this timeline has worked out, they haven't gotten those opportunities or elevated up to where they were. It's kind of a fun thing to make to harken back. It really depends on how you're making your time travel game work and what it is you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
That's something that crossed my mind. I'm like, because I don't see that very often. You see people travel through time, they affect time, they come back, it's different. You don't see them go back, do stuff, come back, and then possibly run into things that weren't affected.
Right.
Everything got recorrected. I don't know. Carry
You
on.
don't know. All right.
It's dangerous.
I've just
Proceed with
derailed the whole
caution.
conversation.
Let
Am I making sense tonight?
Yes.
Oh,
course.
Speaking of making sense, I watched True Stories, which is one of my favorite films. Don't know True Stories. You don't know True Stories? True Stories?
Yes, but vaguely.
True Stories?
Robert Altman?
No. David Byrne,
Yeah, True Stories. Okay, yeah.
John Goodman,
A very young John Goodman.
Spalding Gray.
Yep.
I love that movie.
It's a good one.
I had Allie watching it, and Allie's like, "This is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It's awful." No, don't turn it off. Because it's a very charming little love
It is.
story.
Yeah.
It is, and it's John Goodman at the height of his power. I think.
He was awesome.
charming and wonderful and just bright-eyed. He's
I'm
great.
6'3" and maintain a consistent panda bear shape. He was looking for a wife.
Oh.
But it's a very heartwarming film,
Yeah.
especially at the very end. Because right before the closing credits, David Byrne says, "I hope I've been able to help you forget." Because whenever you go to a brand new place, everything looks different and everything is interesting, and it's nice when we can forget where we're from, and get to see it as if it was the first time we've been there, which I thought was like a really cool sentiment for me.
David Byrne's not always the most optimistic person too, but he is always amazed.
He is. He always has a sense of wonder in
Oh,
everything
yes,
that
he
he does,
does.
and I love that.
Aw, that's
Isn't it? It's
nice.
awesome.
I like that.
It was the best part
I'll
of
have to
it.
see.
In one of the album covers, there's like
Oh, there
there's
is
like quotes
another
from, like-
email I want to read
Oh, okay.
because we're observing
sensitive?
Veterans Day
Oh
Yes.
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 Today.
today. in
Right
fact.
now, even.
Leatherneck here again. This time I have a shorter and not complainy email.
Okay.
I thought I would share a gaming story from my active service days.
Yes.
In 1982, old man, I was stationed in Okinawa for a year and got some serious gaming in. The AD&D group was 4 jarheads and a corpsman. Doc had the keys to the BMC.
Base Medical Center.
Okay.
That's why.
providing
Stock,
us
dude. Come on.
providing us with an off-duty gaming area that provided a couple of benefits. The building was air conditioned.
I was going to say it had AC
Probably the only building that did.
right.
and refrigerators with food
And we had access to the Chiefs Korean War era coffee percolator.
or coffee.
Is that good?
Yeah.
The Korean War era percolators the best?
It worked. It worked regardless.
Okay. No French press?
No. And you could put mud and iodine in it and come out with coffee.
Oh, good. Okay, right.
Nice.
For several months, we played marathon sessions of AD&D like teenage boys, sometimes hungover. A condition I don't remember gaming when I was an actual teenage boy. Eventually, we were sent to Japan and Camp Fuji. On the slope of Mount Fuji, between operations, we made time in the evenings to game because 2 of the players were NCOs, a sergeant and a petty officer. We gamed in the NCO tent. The table was a canvas cot with us sitting on the floor around it. My plot involved finding and ending the threat of a demon that had caused problems for the players for a while. They tracked him down to a cavern for the climactic battle of the 4 PCs versus the big demon and his medium-sized dragon companion. The battle was taking longer than I intended, and their victory was not certain. I had lost track of time and didn't realize lights out was approaching. Mid-attack rolls, we were plunged into darkness as the generators were shut down.
Oh.
I was about to gather up my materials and leave NCO land when spectators intervened. Some non-rates had joined us to watch along with a couple of other NCOs. When the spectators supplying light with flashlights and Zippos, we finished the battle.
Oh, that's awesome. They were like, well, we want to know what happens.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And who says RPGs aren't spectators?
Right?
Right.
It took about 10 more minutes, and the players won the day. How could they not when they had such moral support?
Aww.
P.S. Shout out to Lance Corporal Menard, who got me playing RuneQuest in the Glorantha setting. Dude, when I get home, I GM'd the hell out of that game. Thanks. P.P.S. Take a drink. You deserve it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for service.
So-
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you. for
2
your
things.
service.
First off, Leatherneck, Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
And second off, hoorah!
There you go.
I don't know what it is.
I got that a couple days ago.
I don't know what it
Really
is
awesome.
about armed forces and role-playing games. I was astonished when we got our first emails way back when we first started
Yeah.
with this, and then you started the whole care package and stuff, and I'm like, why? I mean, when I was a kid, the people that were in the army never played role-playing games. I did, and it seems like that's a
did.
really, really big thing. They did, but I
Yeah.
didn't know it.
Yeah.
They did. They did.
Yeah.
Hannah ran a Shadowrun for her shipmates.
That's awesome.
Oh,
I
that's
love
awesome.
that. Well,
Yeah.
they're stuck on I'm not going
On a
to
boat.
out Hannah, but yeah, they don't have many places to go.
They
so
were in
we
the
gotta
Sea of
do
Japan
stuff.
for months on end.
Months
Yeah.
on end.
It's not even a big sea.
But it is a big damn boat.
Yeah.
Oh. We should do another care package.
Yeah.
If we have any active service personnel out there who are somewhere far away and you want a care package, we can put one together for you.
Absolutely. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Let us
Totally
know.
do that again.
Yeah.
So
How
we'd
should they send an email?
send an email
Yeah.
to me,
happyjacksrpg@gmail.com.
happyjacksrpg@gmail.com.
Yes. So
We'll come up with something for you.
absolutely.
Our last one would cost you a lot of money, but we did get some emails back saying thank you. And
Well, the
yeah,
nice,
we're
the
looking
nice,
forward
the nice thing about sending, whether the APOs and FPOs, it's just like normal mail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
It doesn't cost. It's not like sending something to Europe or something
Yeah.
like that because it has normal U.S. mail rates.
Yeah.
Which, yes,
Yeah.
Better. Much better.
Much more better.
especially considering the volume of stuff
And the
sent
weight,
in the
yes,
past.
the weight, yeah. And it was like, yeah.
Yeah. That's how like our international emails started. I think
Yes.
is like our first ones from Japan and faraway places. A lot of them were people on active duty, different places.
Yep.
And then we started, getting people who really lived in those countries
Yeah.
and weren't just there for the Army and Navy and
Right.
Marines and all the other things. Very exciting.
I find it really heartening that our armed forces are playing role-playing games.
That's awesome.
I think the world would be a better place now.
Yep.
It does my heart good
Yeah.
to
Absolutely.
know that is out there and being shared across continents.
I agree. All right.
So happy Veterans Day to
Happy
everyone who
Veterans
is
Day. Yes.
currently serving and everyone who has served our country. And
And thank you.
thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
From everyone here at Happy Jacks, we give you you're an A+ from the C- crew.
And a fan waggle.
Yeah. Stu is flirting with you with his eyes.
Flirting with you with my eyes. Unless you're a sailor, then I'm not. They take that serious. All right.
It's a big boat.
We know Hannah does.
All right.
All right.
I will end it.
Okay. Don't forget, check out our schedule at happyjacks.org/schedule. You already ended it, didn't you?
I accidentally hit the orgasm button. Sorry. That's where I'm on the wrong page.
Yeah, you
That's
are
where
on the wrong page.
Damn it!
Yes.
So
Yes,
do
you
that
are.
plug again
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there was moaning
Because
over
everyone was really distracted. So yes, please check out our schedule at happyjacks.org/schedule. See when our games are. See when we're streaming live. Also, you can preview and see what podcasts are going to be coming up, both APs and regular. We are going to be having some schedule variations in the next few weeks because we have a bunch of holidays coming up.
it. Yeah.
So
And just real life got in the way. Like,
Yeah.
Mode of Sin has gotten postponed.
I have to run a Moment of Truth one shot because Dave Kazay has to play in it.
yep. There's
So
a
that's
whole
got to
thing.
happen.
So we're going to have some
next
one
month
shots
or two.
too. So be aware of the schedule. We'll make announcements and stuff on social media. And yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah,
So.
got to check.
Why problem make
Stuff's happening.
when you know problem have you don't want to make?
Thank you for joining us for season 20, episode 13 of Happy Jacks RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy. I did not just forget and change to the calendar and move back.
Prematurely? I didn't see anything.
No.
And I'm Jib.
Historic, and I totally saw her change the calendar. Yeah, she's nothing to see here.
It's magic.
We're hedged.
When you know problem have
There are no
That's
ninjas.
it. We'll leave you with a song at the end of this show.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. See you next week.
Yes.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Dungeons and Dragons, hero, pathfinder, fate or savage lands, evil plots will be usurping.
Why problem make when you know problem have you don't want to make?
Witless burping, Happy Jack's podcast will be douchebags all. Go away, Baton. Fine girl, you are.
Well, my lovely Dinah, 1,000 times adieu. We're going away from the holy ground and the girls that we love true. We will sail the salt seas over and then return for shore to see again the girls we love and the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you're the girl that I adore, and still I live in hopes to see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you are. When we're out a sailing and you are far behind, fine letters will I write to you with the secrets of my mind. The secret of my mind, my love. You're the girl that I adore, and still I live in hopes to see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you're the girl that I adore, and still I live in hopes to see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you are. Now the storm is raging, and we are far from shore. The poor old ship is tossing about, and the rigging is all tore. Well, the night is dark and dreary, and the rain chills to our core. And we pray to God that we will see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you're the girl that I adore, and still I live in hopes to see the holy ground once more. Fine girl, you are. Now the storm is over, and we are safe and well. We'll go into a public house, and we'll sit and drink like hell. Like hell! We will drink strong ale and porter, and make the rafters roar.
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.